The UK ports are to demand compensation if post-Brexit trade barriers with the EU are lowered. We're going to read into this more from the Financial Times, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from the Financial Times with the headline that the UK ports are to demand compensation if post-Brexit trade barriers with the EU are lowered. The industry body warns its members risk losing large sums of money if checks on animals and plant produce are removed. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. So this is really, really important, and UK ports are absolutely right to be up in arms and concerned about this as well, rightly so, even if I'm someone that greatly believes that we should be reducing our trade barriers, reducing the red tape and making it as easy as possible for trade and businesses to flow much more easily between ourselves and the EU. The problem is that the last Conservative government have been running the industry bodies around like headless chickens, really badly mistreating them, and they were told to build these checks on many of their ports. They were told to put in all this infrastructure. They were given some money from the government itself, but they put their hands in their own pockets to build these up. And now a Labour government obviously would look to reduce the trade barriers, reduce the risk, and this is something that they want to do, but not so much in so as rejoining the single market and customs unions, as they have stated on numerous occasions, but they want to make it easier for businesses and trade between ourselves and the EU. But this obviously means that if these UK ports have all this infrastructure built at them, designed to deal with large sums of trade and deficits and whatnot, it means that they have wasted a huge amount of money, which means to say, and they rightfully are saying here, hey, we want some money. Yeah, we spent money in this. Yeah, we've been told to do these things. Now, you can argue, obviously, of course, that this is absolutely the Conservatives' fault because obviously they're responsible for this, but they're not in government anymore. The Labour are, and Labour now have to make a decision here on what they're going to do here, because they can't ignore the compensations that are demanded from these industries, and rightfully so. While at the same time, they need to be physically responsible with their money. So what exactly does Labour do in this? Because this is quite a pickle for them, because they have to show physical responsibility, which is hence why they didn't go. They voted against the SNP's motion for the two-child benefit cap, for example. They want to get rid of the two-child benefit cap, but they want to show physical responsibility when they do it. Whether they will do it at the budget obviously remains to be seen. We have to wait and see on that one, of course. But this is a very difficult tightrope that Labour find that are going to have themselves in, especially if they do continue to lower the barriers. So let's read a bit more into this, you guys. So the UK ports have demanded compensation from the Labour government if it strikes a deal to lower trade barriers with the EU after they were forced to spend millions of pounds on building post-Brexit border control facilities. The British Port Association said it has written to ministers warning that its members risk losing large sums after constructing high-tech checkpoints, many of which have been barely used, if checks on EU animal and plant produce were removed. And this is the thing. Yeah, they have spent this money, and they want that, and they want something in return. They expect something in return. And if it's found that the Labour government obviously makes trade between themselves and the EU lower, well, the British Ports Association, rightfully so, going to be angry. So a letter sent to the Cabinet Office and the Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs following Labour's election victory this month said port owners have built a series of expensive and high-spec border control posts at the direction of government. The BPA told the Financial Times that ports feared a UK-EU deal to reduce the need for checks promised by Labour could make the border control posts redundant. The industry groups, whose members include the UK's largest port owners, said that while an agreement with the EU was welcome, ports should not have to repeatedly incur costs because of changing political winds. We are seeking a conversation on how the sector might be reasonably compensated, it added. The letter marks the latest complications in the rollout of the UK's post-Brexit border regime, which has been fraught with delays since ports were asked to build new facilities to check EU produce that had previously been imported seemingly through the bloc's single market. During its election campaign, Labour pledged to strike a veterinary deal with the EU that would prevent unnecessary border checks and help tackle the cost of food as part of its plans to tear down trade barriers. The Labour government had previously said it had spent £200 million co-funding facilities to handle checks at 41 ports in the wake of the UK leaving the EU. The call for compensation comes as the Chancellor Rachel Reeves prepared to disclose the near £20 billion hole in the public finances on Monday, that's today at this recording, accusing the Conservatives of a failure to run the government's finances properly. Ports reported that the new border control posts are being underused, preventing them from levying charges on traders and recouping their investment. The Financial Times also reported in April that government had planned to not fully implement physical checks on incoming goods when the border controls began that month in order to avoid lorry queues at the border. So Mike Stellers, director at the Portsmouth International Port, said that DEFRA had encouraged the city-run council-run harbour to construct a facility to be able to process up to 80 checks a day. But he added that the checkpoints, which require 2 acres of land and £6 million of council funds, only carried out that amount of checks each month. Yes, so we covered it. I think we covered it in a separate video that the massive facility in Portsmouth, and it's become completely useless. And they were demanding compensation from the government, the Conservative government at the time, obviously. Meanwhile, border facility at Portaloo Harbour in Dorset had completed just 2 sanitary checks since its border regime came into force, the BPA said. Such an agreement could take a number of forms. These include a New Zealand-style deal that only partly reduces checks and a Swiss-style approach which could remove all red tape, but will require the UK to follow EU law in the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice. Port owners had already demanded compensation from the Conservative government, which delayed the implementation of Brexit border checks and published plans for a contactless digital border that would reduce the need for border control points after they were constructed. DEFRA was contacted for comment. Yeah, and they're right. They're right to be angry and they're right to be frustrated, guys, because this is taxpayer money. You know, this money that they've invested into upgrading these ports and whatnot could have gone elsewhere. And the Conservative government at the time, obviously invested into these as well. And then they U-turned on them and saying, "Oh no, we're going to be doing more digital," which means that many of them were upset or had to down cross and whatnot, spend money again on some of them. Obviously, the one, I remember the one in Portsmouth. They said it would have cost more. It would have been better to just tear it all down and rebuild it again. I remember that was the word and the phrasing that was in the article as well. Like, it's just not fair on the industry, guys. Like, let's be real. Like, we want things to be as smooth and easy as possible when it comes to trade with business, with business and whatnot with our European partners. We really do. We want it to be easier. We want to reduce red tape. We want small, medium, large businesses, whatever. We want to have that. We want to reduction of red tape. Everyone wants that. It'd be good it's good for the economy, good for British businesses, good for EU businesses, best for everyone around. To put having these trade barriers inflicted on ourselves that we've imposed, it's ridiculous. But not so much to rejoin the EU single market and customs union. But again, I know people will say in the comments, there's no clear plan of how to do that. Yes, I know that, and I'm fully aware of that. But the Labour government wants to reduce that. But they've got to address this issue with the UK ports, and this is going to be a big problem as well. Understandably, I'm sure Rachel Reeves will be fully aware of this, but I do not expect the Chancellor to simply put her hand in her pocket and give compensation to them if they reduce the Brexit trade barriers. If they do, I don't expect it to be as simple as that. But what do you guys think? What do you guys make of the UK's ports to demand compensation? Are they absolutely right and justifiably so if Brexit trade barriers are reduced? All this money and time that's been put in by the industry in setting up all these ports could all be for nothing if Labour were to reduce the trade barriers. So let me know what you guys think and more about this story in the comment section down below. And if you found this video interesting or informative, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video, and subscribe because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.